Hey everybody, it's Christian Buckley doing another MVP Buzz Chat, and I'm talking today with Diego. Hello.
Hello.
Busy week for you.
Yeah, yeah. One funny story. I actually got the news at 3:01 in the morning. Like I was already asleep, and it was a holiday Monday morning, and I don't know. It's something that told me that I had to look at my phone at 3 a.m. and I look at it and I saw the email and I'm like, now it's now or never. Now it's the moment of truth, right? Like did everything that I put in for this, did it work out or did it not? And I'm still like half asleep and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in. But then what do you do with those news at 3 in the morning, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Well, that's
like
the question. It's like, did you sleep easier after that, or were you wide awake at that point?
Okay, this is probably a very unique story, but here we go. I went to my local bar down the street from my house at 3 a.m. I'm like, I need to have a drink to celebrate this. I'm not gonna celebrate home with my cat, right? For at least for this time. So I walk in, and because it was a holiday Sunday, and there's like Lady Gaga touring in town, so me being here in Miami Beach, the city was busy. I walked in, the bartender is like, "What are you doing here at this hour?" And I say, "Can you just get a beer? Just bear with me for a second. This is a pretty big deal." So I danced around, walked in like half asleep, walked out half drunk, went back to bed, woke up the next morning, looked at my email again. I'm like, "Yep, still there. Wasn't a dream." So, all right, time to actually get some work done now. So that was the moment of finding out about it.
It's always fun talking to folks that like are brand new, MVPs, as well as veteran MVPs that have been in the system for a while. But I do like having you share the story. I mean, obviously, it's not just hey, last week you applied and or somebody submitted your name. There was a process back there. What was your origin story here? What's the background of hearing about, understanding what the program was, and then getting submitted?
It's so weird. So I feel like a lot of instances in my journey have been things that weren't necessarily things that I was aiming for, but it made total sense at the time. So even how I got started, right? Okay, my background is in tech. I went to college in Brazil. I moved to the US for like a small consulting company in 2001. Right when the world was upside down, right after September the 11th. So then after being at that conference, that organization for a while, I got a job at the World Bank in DC. And it was for a SharePoint developer. I did not know what thing with SharePoint was. Yes, my background was in tech and all that. I had, built many websites and this and that, but I had no familiarity with SharePoint. And basically my interview was like, well, neither do we. And we're hiring you so you can figure it out and teach us, right? This was in 2009. I haven't stopped ever since. Right. But over the years, all the people that I followed, like too many to name here, like you included, Laura Rogers, and like all these people that I read so many articles about. After then the COVID thing happened, right after the pandemic, I started going to conferences, and next thing you know, I'm like, I'm actually getting to meet them and becoming more and more familiar with them. And now it kind of became this whole thing of like, oh, my mentors are now like people that I'm calling like my friends, like people that I looked over for so many years are now like, encouraging me to, hey, come join us. And one of the struggles that I've always had over the years, coming into meetings, talking about SharePoint, being the guy, the SharePoint guy a lot of times, was always, what credentials do you have, right? Like what do you have that you bring to the table that you can talk about this, let alone that I was working on it 24/7 and, doing research and all that. But there was always that lack of like, okay, what are your credentials with this kind of thing? And that's when the whole invitation came about. Say, hey, Diego, you should join this program because this will give you the leverage that you always been trying to get. So for me, for me, it was a lot of that. For me, it was like being able to have a seat at the table and to be able to just to speak up on from my own self, from my own point of view.
Yeah.
And and here I am.
Isn't it amazing? If you think about it, it's not like you can go get a degree in SharePoint. In Microsoft 365, you have a lot of the experience, and there are a lot of there's that we talk about this all the time. Like working for a services company, a lot of our I'll say a lot of our projects, we do have on a pretty regular clip projects that were owned by other experts that failed in the deployment somewhere along the way and brought over to us. And so that's something where we see. So it's not just about saying, hey, I've been in the space for this long. Having the MVP, the award, just like going out and you can get certifications and things that are out there, but going and completing courseware doesn't have the same impact as having the MVP award. The one other thing, of course, would be if you have the various technical certifications. I mean, that's something as I often say that it's like, look, I'm an MVP without any. I don't have a SharePoint technical certification around it. That's not the kind of MVP I am. I'm a product and marketing guy. So I help build products. I have a lot of depth in knowledge of SharePoint for many, many years, but I'm not out there architecting solutions. I'm more on the end user side of things. So it's just very different. So going after certifications and stuff is great for that role, but for that broader, that community involvement for from the end user through to the developer, depending what your area of focus is, people that are more community based, that's what this is for. It's like it's more of a well-rounded, I'm involved, I am sharing information, knowledge. That's what the program is about, not a technical certification per se. You do have to have depth, you have to have expertise, but it's different than going and getting a cert.
Right. So a couple of things. I've been saying this lately more and more and more. How do you even start these days on getting a certification on SharePoint? Because there used to be all these courses, SharePoint, and like for UI UX or more the administration side. Now the roles are so blurry. Like you know what I mean? Like you're an admin, you're doing a little bit of development, you're kind of all over the place. But the other thing is, even when you're looking at the documentation isn't able to keep up with the tool. So let alone the coursework that you have, right? And that's why you don't see as many courses in SharePoint now as you might see in a Power Platform and other areas that are more like development centered approaches. So that's one of the things. But for me, one of the things too, I was always the go-to guy, the guy who knew where else to look for the information that was needed. Like I was never like, the super like specialist on something, but I always knew the components or who to call and who to follow up with whenever there was an easier question. Yep. And I feel like for me too, being along with the users and trying to help people solve problems and looking at the tool and saying, okay, with what we have right now with these capabilities, this is how we could best build a solution that'll help what you do right now. But I lost also count of how many times after I would build something or going back into a project of something that I had done a few years prior, I will look back at things that I developed myself and I would just go, oh, I will do this completely different now because the technology is also evolving, right? And particularly now that we're talking about Microsoft 365, we're all in the cloud. You're not doing anymore like development that you require a server that needs to be patched or that needs to be on this particular version, right? Buttons are moving around all the time, like new functionality is being added. That toolbar is just getting more new functions added each day. So you have to keep up. Like if you're just sitting on your desk, you're sleeping,
I just going to throw something into just as a side note to what Diego just said. For the folks that are out there, the millions of you that still are using on-prem SharePoint, we're not reading anything into it. It still exists. It's still out there. Microsoft there's no end of life coming of on-prem
No.
versions. So that we're not saying you don't exist. It is still a thing. In fact, I would say that it still surprises Microsoft how big it still is, hybrid and pure on-prem. But anyway, back to the point. I mean, most of what we're like, I moved to the cloud years ago, like early on. I made that decision. In fact, I moved from a SharePoint MVP. I was the second or third Office 365 MVP in the world. So I kind of took on that designation because I kind of moved over. And then they changed names around and kind of shuffled us all back together anyway. But now we're just M365, MVPs that touches on a lot of things. But speaking of touching on a lot of different areas and focus, there's a lot of products that are in M365. Kind of what are your sweet spots? What are you talking about, speaking on, writing about, creating videos, any content around these days?
So lately, what I've been focusing on a lot with my organization, total coincidence, but I submitted a number of sessions like in the coming weeks. But also something I've been working on with my organization, which is brand center in SharePoint, because we finally have like a central location that you can add all your colors or your fonts for corporate branding. And it's out there. It does not require like any premium licensing. So I feel like I always like to talk about features that don't require people to spend more money, right? Yep. Because there are so many toys in that box in front of you. Let's play with all the toys that we have. Once we get bored, then we can go explore more, right? But I always say this: there's so many things like brand center to name one. Viva Learning, also if you use the basics of that can give you like some pretty good nice training platform for organization. But again, brand center is the number one thing for me right now. Of course, we cannot stop talking about governance. Like that's not going to go away now. That's not going to go away never, because now you have also SharePoint embedded, added to the equation. So you start, and all these new tools, they're generating SharePoint embedded sites, which in a way is good, but it's also another thing for admins to keep an eye on, right? So it's between those two, at least for the next coming months. Then, let me take a little breather at the end of the year and see where I go from there.
Yeah, one thing, and I was thinking about this. We had recently interviewed, as you're probably aware, Erica Tully, who's a former MVP, who's at Microsoft on the purview and the compliance side of things. And I was thinking, you know what, that's a certification that I might go and look into doing. I want to go deeper into purview from a governance standpoint. So yeah, it's a. I mean, what the other thing, talking about back in the certifications, I thought I meant to mention earlier. So many people are consuming SharePoint via Teams as part of Teams, that's a path for a lot of newer SharePoint admins. Is a lot of them are also adminning for Teams, is to go do the team certification. So what is that? The MS 700?
700, I think, yeah.
And then, whatever certification they have around Purview would be another area to go in. I know there's the security certification as well, but yeah, that's it's an ongoing. As you know, we've had these conversations like governance. I find myself talking about governance topics that I was talking about in the mid 90s. Different systems, but the principles of healthy IT governance, systems governance, intranet governance are the same.
Right.
So
yeah, I said that in a blog not too long ago. It's Copilot readiness is just governance with lipstick, right? And it kind of is, because people want to see results when they're adopting Copilot. People want to see Copilot come out with the best information for them, but no one is looking back and seeing, version control and seeing how many versions of each of the same file that we have, right? Or rather, yeah, instead of implementing proper version control in SharePoint, and there's so many things like that people keep using and not to the best of their advantage. So I think there's a lot of basics that need to be explored again.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump into it. I'm interested to know like what's going on on the community aspect of things, like because one that we've mentioned now a couple times, pandemic. I know post-pandemic, a bunch of user groups around the world are really struggling to get back to their pre-pandemic numbers. How's the community down in your part of the world?
It's all over the place, right? I've been in selected to speak in sessions like in the next coming weeks. So it's not just my part of the world, actually, but in the next coming weeks, I'll be in like New York, Ottawa, New York for Experts Live, Ottawa for M365, then Twin Cities, then Power Platform Conference, and then Live 360 in Orlando, and then I'm still gonna do a user group next week. I think I don't necessarily. I mean, I don't know the numbers, so I'm just talking from what I see. But I don't necessarily think is a matter that people are not attending user group sessions. Is that there are a ton of new ones now. Right, there used to be like a single SharePoint conference back in the day, right? And now there are several big other events like in Europe and in the US. So I think things are a little bit diluted in a way, but in a good way, So there are way more communities, there are way more ways that people can interact with, and then there are other new channels now, like Discord, and all the community calls that happen every week. So I think people just have more and more opportunities, and of course, if you want to attend everything, you don't do anything else in your life, right? So I think it's a little bit of that too. That people sometimes you have to make a call as to what you want to see or not.
Isn't that true? Just about it used to be like that when I studied marketing during my undergrad. I think that the thinking was that it took like 8 to 12 marketing touches before a customer would respond to something, and in the digital world it's like 30 plus touches, if not more, and so that it would also translate into the community, the side of things. You're right, there's so many different ways to consume the information, and Microsoft documentation has gotten better. A lot of the video content, they actually do a good job of partnering with community members to create a lot of the content that's out there. So if you go out and you find a great article out on support.microsoft.com, there's a good chance that it could have been authored by MVP
Right.
experts that are out in the community, that Microsoft then pulled it in, made it the official documentation.
But look, remember when people used to buy books about SharePoint? Sue Henley was like one of the most awesome authors I used to read from.
Yeah.
I mean,
I always say that, Diego, it's like a book is the most work you can do for the least amount of reward. It's great to do, because that used to be like when we were talking about certifications and building expertise. That's another way. And that person that writes that SharePoint book may not have any more experience than you, but having gone through that painful process of writing the book and all the images and going through the editorial review, that entire process, sticking with it and completing that work, it's a substantial community activity.
Oh yeah. Look, another area that I have a lot of mad respect for are for the MCTs. I think they go to another level. Like if any challenges that I thought with the whole MVP process to become an MCT for me is kind of like that. So uncharted territory.
Yeah.
that
Are you thinking
I have
about it?
mad
Because you're
respect.
not an MCT, are you?
Not at the time. Not for the time being. No.
Are you trying? Are you moving that direction?
I don't know. I never looked into it. I feel like I'm a little too unhinged sometimes to follow a particular path. And I kind of honestly I kind of like the oddball problems too. Whenever I take a Microsoft Learn course, like you're given, okay, this is the path that you're gonna go if you're gonna stay on the rails. I'm always like veering off, and my exercises are always breaking because I'm trying different things, and so I know I piss the instructors off whenever I'm taking something. So I'm not sure if I'm the best person for that.
I'm the same way with digital learning, is because I'll go in, I'm start down, it's like, looking through the syllabus, I want like 2/3 of this. The other stuff, like, I don't care.
Yeah. Or like sometimes I'll take 12 hours to do something that should have taken me like 3, just because I'm trying every single option. Like I'm like the kid who's playing a video game and who goes into every room in the house to like open all the drawers and cabinets and then ask questions about everything. I don't know.
Well, I know there's a lot of, there's a lot of great opportunity that's out there for, and you're going to see this too. It's hard to even say that now that you are an MVP. It's going to open up other doors. There's going to be other opportunities for you. There's my guidance as you begin to drink from the fire hose is to pace yourself. And I remind you, you don't have to say yes to every invitation.
Right.
Just remember that it's okay. In fact, I've not been to one of the NDA calls in months, just because the ones I really need to attend have conflicted with, there's so much client activity going on. It's great to be busy, and it's just unfortunate that it's impacted. So I've had to watch the recordings afterwards. But
right.
Just don't feel that pressure. You can't lose yourself in that.
And you got to pay the bills too, right?
Right. Exactly. So if anybody wants to hire us as full-time MVPs where we don't do any other work, but we just participate in the MVP, like, I would sign up for that.
Oh, yes.
I take a slight pay cut to do nothing but that.
No, but it's been an amazing journey. Like all the people that I've met along the way, and all the people that I've learned, and everything that I've learned with everyone that I've met. It is like drinking from the fire hose, but I feel like you have a lot of fun in the process too. There's a lot of personal struggles. There's but the amount of people, and sometimes. Even look, I'll tell you like specific examples of my work right now. Like sometimes I would go into an event with something that I'm trying to solve, and I can't do it, and then I just go and I meet someone who has done something similar, and instead of them giving me like this whole technical explanation, they just say, "Don't even try, don't work, like go do something else, like go spend your time when it's more valuable." And that was also one of the many very very valuable lessons that I always learn with this community is, some things you want to spend a lot of your time and effort on, and some others you have to kind of not know too much about, because again, otherwise you're going to become overwhelmed, you're going to burn yourself out, and that's what you also don't want to do.
Right. That's what I think you said it a couple times too early on, is that it's great to have depth in some areas, but the more important is having that network and knowing who to go to answer those questions. Because I said the same thing. It's like, hey, if I don't know the answer, I definitely know somebody who knows the answer.
Right. And like you said, purview, for instance, right? It's something I'm so fascinated about, like having, a lot of governance in my background. I never dedicated too much time to learn about purview, because I know if I learn that, I'm going to have to, deprioritize some other things that are also very important to me. But I know some amazing people in purview, so I can call them and pick up the phone and be like, "Hey, what is this? Can you explain a little more?" So you have to know, like, sometimes when to stop, but who is going to be there when it's that time for you to stop.
Right. Well, can I ask you one last question? It's like, because you're going to get a lot of people coming out of the woodwork now and be like congratulating you on the MVP award, and then they want to know, like, well, what's the secret? Like, if I want to become an MVP, like, what's your advice to somebody that is interested, that they're involved in the community to some level or not? What's your advice? What do you tell people?
Don't give up. Don't give up. Like you're going to get a lot of disencouragement along the way, just as much as you're going to get encouragement. Don't give up. Like surround yourself with the awesome people in this community who always be giving you encouragement. You know, don't let imposter syndrome hit you, because there will be a time that you're going to be around folks that have 30 years more experience than you do, and you're going to be talking to them not like this. You're just going to be talking at the same level with them because they are that kind to you. And those times you're going to be like, shoot, what did I get myself into? Don't let that scare you. Like, keep doing what you're doing, because your story is unique to yourself. You know, no one can talk about that problem in the same way that you can. They can talk about their own perspective of the problem, but the problem that you solve, only you can do it. And that's what I keep telling myself. My story is unique. The way that I talk about things is my own way. If you're interested in hearing my stories and the lessons that I've learned, come to my session. Come talk to me. You know, say hi, send me an email, do all that. But like, don't ever stop. Like it takes a lot of persistence, and you just gotta keep doing. And if you believe in that, it'll happen.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time, Diego. And
Of course.
I see you at a couple of those events, not all of them. I'm going a little bit quieter. The other activities that are filling my time, but I'll see you a couple more times this year.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me.